Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the most must-see podcast here in the NJSSL. Welcome to the one and only, the Cutting Redge. We are here today with a very special episode for you guys because Reg, also known as Raza, is joined by two other key guys in this league, both of which also go by Raza. First, we've got the first round overall pick for the Sadiq Scholars. He helped lead his team to the semifinals of the NJSSL and unfortunately had a great fight against Shahrukh's team in the Enlightened Elite, but fell short just at the end. First, welcome my first guest, Raza Ahmed. Raza, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Reg. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I mean, it's an honor. I see all the great players from the league joining this podcast, and I feel like I've done something special to be invited by Reg and to be here with Raza Bhai. I'm excited to be here, guys. I'm excited to talk about playoff basketball.
And we are definitely excited to have you. But before we talk about playoff basketball, I'm going to introduce my second guest. He is one of the most influential, phenomenal members of the community here in New Jersey, both on the court, on the field, in the Imam Barga, even at his house, wherever you are. If Raza Abbas Khan is there, then you know that you're going to have an excellent time at whatever you're trying to do. So please welcome my guest. He is the captain of the Commanders of Mujtaba, who just had a crushing defeat to the Shuj'aat-e-Ali Asgher here in the semifinals this past week. Please welcome Raza Abbas Khan. Raza Bhai, assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Wa alaikum assalam. Assalamu alaikum, Raza. Assalamu alaikum to the audience, viewers. Alhamdulillah, everything's good, and looking forward to this conversation with the great Raza Ahmed and the amazing Reg.
Oh, we're only just shadows in your excellence, Raza Bhai.
Thank you for the kind words. Appreciate it.
Well, let's. I think let's just get right into it. I think let's talk about Raza, the Sadiq Scholars and the Enlightened Elite game first. Certainly, I wasn't there in person, so I was watching the stream, which kind of came up towards the end of the game. But for what I saw, every second was like very exciting, because you guys, I think, were down by like 10 or 12 or something like that right at the start of that stream. And all of a sudden, it's like 59-58. And it's like, and I think you guys took the lead by one, but then kind of gave it up at the end. Why don't you, I want to hear kind of your thoughts just as this game went on and like from start to finish and, how you think your team did.
Yeah, so for sure, I think with whenever you play against Shahrukh, not only do you have to have your skills on par and your physicality on par, but you have to be so mentally locked in. We were down, we fought back, we got a 1 point lead, and we got excited. That was the issue that happened, though. We got excited, and Shahrukh is like, if you're going against Shahrukh, you're going into a dogfight. You cannot get excited. You have to stay in the same exact mental frame the whole time. So, I mean, Shahrukh's a hell of a player. It's very disappointing that we're not in the finals, but I mean, we fought hard. You just have to be mentally 120% when you're facing Shahrukh, and I think we lost because Shahrukh fought a little bit harder than we did.
And I think that's excellent advice kind of to the upcoming team that's about to face Shahrukh. Raza Bhai, on the sidelines watching this game, what was your take on it?
So I caught the back half of the second half when they were making the comeback. And when they made the comeback, my son, Misam, and I got really excited. And I really thought that if they held their composure there, they could have won. To Raza's point, they got a little too excited, and you could sense that. And maybe that kind of the intensity got that they had that got them back into the game and actually took the lead. I think maybe just getting a little overexcited, and there was still a lot. I think 7 or 8 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It was a lot of time, and it was only a 1 point game. I think if they kept that intensity going, knowing in their minds and playing as if they were down 10 rather than up by one, I think they could have continued that momentum. But you have to give credit to Shahrukh and his guys. They played an amazing game. I think that at the turn, when it turned back to them, was I think a layup from Sean, if I'm not mistaken, that kind of got them back going again. And then Shahrukh had I think and one where he was fouled, and it just kind of the momentum just went the opposite way and just sucked the air out of these guys.
Yeah, it was definitely a strong comeback, but then exactly as you said, I feel like one of the things that all season we've been seeing from the Enlightened Elite is that they have been really good at those fast breaks, where they find Sean or where they find Ali Jawad Varsi, and they get that
Yes.
the kind of this open look underneath,
He
and
also had I'm sorry to cut you off. He also had a clutch layup towards the end.
Yeah, no, I definitely saw that, and I just saw those easy points kind of piling up for the Enlightened Elite. And I think earlier on in the game, Raza, your team was doing an excellent job of kind of minimizing that, and then kind of towards the end, I guess, just with all that effort and intensity that was put into coming back, I think there might have been a little bit of fatigue that kind of kicked in. What do you think about that, Raza?
I think so too, but I think that one of the issues is that you can't really rely on your team when you're playing against Shahrukh. You have to be ready to go one on one in a way as well. Because I feel like if you rely on your team, Shahrukh's ready to take on your entire team himself. He's gonna attack, get a high field goal percentage shot up, make that shot, and then you're kind of putting your hope into your teammates to make that shot and cover up for you against Shahrukh. And the problem is that when Shahrukh scores, he's doing it at a high percentage. So you have to be able to go into it and say, if he's coming at me, I have to go back at him. And trust your teammates, but do not rely on them.
Hmm. That's a very well thought out phrase and well put. Trust your teammates, but do not rely on them. And speaking of trusting your teammates and but not being able to rely on them, I kind of want to move on to that next game where I'm sure Azape trusted his teammates, but unfortunately couldn't rely on them to win the game. As it was a tough defeat for the Commanders of Mujtaba against Shuj'aat-e-Ali Asgher. And I watched kind of this game, from start to finish, fast forwarding here and there while things slow down. And one of the kind of the overarching themes that I saw that I thought was interesting, and Reza, I really want to hear kind of your thought process on this, was actually having Asad play covering Ahmed Ali. Like what because I felt there were definitely times throughout the game where Ahmed Ali just capitalized on that, either basically fooling him, thinking like making him think that he was going to drive in, but then he found somebody open under the basket, and other times just getting that pick and roll on him. I feel like he kind of that was like not a very good matchup. But what was kind of the thought process from the Commanders side on that matchup in that game?
Sure. So that was based off of Assad's past history with Ahmed. They were teammates. He knows his game. He knows his strengths and weaknesses. So we thought that might actually help us to kind of contain Ahmed. Obviously, you can't stop. He's one of the top players in the league, just like
For
Raza
sure.
is, and Shahrukh. And so with players, when you're going up against players like that, you have to play a perfect game because they will control the game. They will make sure they get to the spot to make a shot where they're comfortable and or get a foul and go to the free throw line. So we thought maybe perhaps that would be beneficial to us to have Asa there, understanding his strengths and weaknesses. And obviously, in hindsight, you can think a million different things, but that was
Mm-hmm.
pretty much our strategy, and that was pretty much it. All year we had Ali Abid on the opponent team's best player, but we figured this game, since Assad knew Ahmed's strengths, will utilize Assad's defensive strategy on him. But I don't think that was the main reason why we lost. It was just a very well played game, and they obviously played much better than we did that day.
Yeah. If you were to pinpoint a main reason why you lost, what do you think it would be?
Obviously, Ahmed, and I think we could have made a little bit few more shots where we had
Mm-hmm.
open looks, and Daniel played an amazing game. He and Jaffa went head to head, and both of them, came out playing and played a very, very well-rounded game. But Ahmed and Daniel, that tandem kind of played. They outplayed our team that day, and their 3-2 zone with our pick and roll with Abbas and Jaffer. That was kind of
Neutralized.
I did a little bit too.
Yeah. Russa, did you get a chance to catch this game?
Yes, I did. So I think a lot of your key players started turning up in the second half. So I think I saw Asad Rizvi, who's such a good shooter, but I think he was kind of forcing the shot a little bit in a way where it wasn't natural for him. That's just my observation on it. I think he's still an amazing shooter, but he started hitting some clutch ones in the second half. I think Abbas Attar had a game that's a little bit subpar in terms of Abbas Attar standards.
Mhm.
Yafa, I told him after the game, I don't know if you heard me, I said he's a killer because his mentality out there, he's just, if he stays under the basket, there's very few people who can really stop him. Maybe working on the free throws, I don't know how his free throw percentage was throughout the season, but if his free throws had a little bit more, if he had a little bit more of a touch on his free throws, it would have been even more dangerous for the other team as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Once he can get his game well rounded, especially on the free throw line, I mean, he's an amazing player. Hence why I drafted him in the first round. I saw his name there. I said, "This is my big guy. I need to go with him." And the way I drafted the team, I kind of put
Yeah, I
put
think
together.
you can't go wrong with having guys like Yafa on your team. Another guy that I'm a big fan of is Abbas out there. These are guys you can't have on your team and feel like you went wrong.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
No, definitely the
and
Commanders had
I
an
totally
excellent.
agree. He has that mentality where he's so focused. And the other thing was, I think this goes credit to Shuj'aat-e-Ali Asgher. In the beginning of the game, there was some chirping going here and there, and I think in the beginning of the game or the first half of the game, it kind of got into our heads, and we tried to stay focused. But I guess that was just a strategy and worked a little bit to their advantage.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the Commanders, I think, did an excellent job, kind of all season, and they really kind of found their groove as the season went on. It was
Absolutely.
definitely a tough loss, but I will say you're right. I mean, Yafa was probably the biggest highlight for me, from at least from the parts of the game that I was able to watch. I feel like he was really keeping guys like well in this game, and he did a great job underneath. Um,
I did hear, however, Reg, that he was getting a little bit emotional, and I feel like emotions have to be taken out of the game during the finals as well. Everybody has to stay even keeled. Getting too emotional, complaining to the refs, I think these things are not going to help anyone in the game in the finals game.
no,
Big
absolutely.
games, big games. Anytime you play a big game, you have to stay composed. You can't let other things take you out of your zone and distract you. Um, Hence why I jumped into the court to calm him down. And I told him, I said, I need you on this floor. We got here because of you, and you're going to
Mhm.
carry us through. And I had to, bring him, calm him down a little bit.
That's good leadership. That's good
There
leadership.
you go. There you go. Raza Ahmed making things happen, making big things happen. Unfortunately, just came up a little bit
Unfortunately,
small.
yeah,
A tall guy, Mr. Yaffa is, but unfortunately, the team came up a little bit short. But now, as a result of this excellent last two games, we have this amazing final coming up. We've got Shuj'aat-e-Ali Asgher, who was the two seed against the Enlightened Elite, who was the one seed. This one's going to go hard down to the wire. Big announcement came out today that this finals matchup is going to happen at Team 85, and that's the first time we're playing at Team 85 since last season. So I don't know how that's going to throw a wrench in everyone's game plan. But Raza, I'm interested to hear like how you. So last time these two teams met, Shark and company took care of business, and they pushed Shuj'aat-e-Ali from the one seed down to the two seed with a strong victory at the end of the season. How do you think it's what do you anticipate this game is going to go down and look like?
this is going to be one of the greatest NJSSL games so far. I can't wait for it. You know, Ahmed Ali, knowing the fact that he's lost to Shahrukh and his team in the past, he is going to be so well prepared for this final. And just like how they came prepared for our team because we had beaten them in the regular season, they
Mhm.
knew what they wanted to do, and I have to give them credit. They controlled that game for the most part against us. And I have a feeling that Emma's going to come very prepared, and he's going to have his team very well prepared. They have a solid starting five. I think they'll do outstanding. And then on the other hand, you have the best player in the league. You have to play your perfect game. To Raza's point earlier, you have to you can focus on the entire team, but you can't always rely on them. I think here Ahmed has to rely on the entire five that's on the floor at all times, because all five of them, look at their team, they can all score 10 to 15 points at any given moment, but they'll have to play a perfect game against a player like Shahrukh and his team. Although, everyone says, oh, one player team, but I think Sean is an excellent player on that team. Ali is great, very good player as a support player. And then you have a few other guys that can always chip in with, 6 to 8 to 10 points. And that's what counts in a big game.
100%, 100%. Raza, before I ask you for your thoughts, Raza Bhai, I want to ask you, with all of what you just said, who do you have winning this one?
I knew that was coming. you know, so far this week, I was, or since the game we lost, I kept leaning towards Ahmed and his team to only because how well prepared they came against us and how well Ahmed and especially Daniel played. So if you're comparing us, Daniel's going to control the paint on both sides of the floor. He's going to defensive rebounds, offensive rebounds. He's going to have those putbacks. You can't go against Shahrukh in a big game. So I would say if I had to pick, probably 3 to 5 point maximum game, and I would lean slightly towards Shahrukh.
Fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. All right, Raza, the floor is yours, my friend. Which team do you see taking this, and how do you envision that this game is going to go down?
So I think that Shahrukh's team, Enlightened and Elite, are gonna win. I think Shahrukh is just a little too much to handle for any team. I think Sadiq Scholars had a really good squad going into the playoffs, and he was too much to handle for us. But I think if MLL's team wants to give themselves a chance, they got to go for high percentage shots. Layups, they got to make them. Everybody, all of the role players have to step up and make their layups. I don't mean to call them role players, not a degrading word, but Al Casey, what's his first name? Mustafa? Mustafa Al Casey, Syed Daniel, Ramiz. These guys can't just wing 3 pointers. They have to get their layups, they have to make their shots, and play a perfect game on offense, play strong defense, and don't stop fighting because Shahrukh is in a dogfight, and in Shahrukh's mind, he's already won the game. So you guys are playing against a player who's already won the game in his head. So you guys better be ready to fight, and don't think that at any point you're up and you're in a good place. You guys got to fight hard. But I give the game to Shahrukh's team for sure. He's just too much to handle.
That's definitely exactly right, and kind of my thoughts as well. I mean, you said it perfectly. Shahrukh knows he's going to win this. He knows that he's put in all this effort throughout the season. This is easily the best season he's had, and he's ready to break all sorts or make all sorts of records that are going to be not broken for at least 10 years, 15 years, maybe. So I think he knows that this is his time. And I think that the big factor here, and you kind of alluded to it, is that, when you said that Shuj'aat-e-Ali needs to hit all their high percentage shots, they need to, not make poor decisions. I think that given how on his game we're going to see Shahrukh, I think we're going to see an Ahmed Ali that as the game progresses is going to get a little bit more and more frustrated if things aren't like if his team's not able to keep up with the Enlightened Elite. And I think that and that's me knowing Ahmed over the last 20 years, right? Now I will tell you this season's Ahmed compared to previous seasons, like it's almost a different guy. Like this is the most I've ever seen him composed. But I think that in this game, with all of what's on the line, with all that what is at stake, this is the game that we might see him lose that composure, and I think that might do it for his team. But we'll see. Rosa, I think you're going to say something.
Yeah, like I said, that's where his experience and controlling his team and controlling the momentum of the game is going to come into play. They'll have to play a perfect or a near perfect game against a player like Shahrukh. So he and his team will need to stay composed. I think he's smart enough to know that he cannot do something that will negatively impact the game and his team. So I think I hope he stays composed, and I think then he'll be able to control the game a bit as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely, and we make a lot of references. This is kind of the thought that came to mind. We make a lot of references to how Shah not only the goat, but that how he's also Thanos, right? And I think that would therefore make Ahmed Ali Thor, who was obviously the strongest Avenger. But remember that Thor, when he lost to Thanos, became Fat Thor, who is like a fat, ugly, useless guy. So Ahmed Ali, you cannot be Fat Thor, man. Don't go into that mindset. You got to be the strongest Avenger and kill him.
Yes. And
Anyway.
I do have to give credit to them too, because in the first half when we were playing against them, we were back and forth for the most part. And
Mhm.
the adjustment they made at the halftime, and they came out, and all of a sudden, I think it was a 2 or 3 point game at half. All of a sudden, it went to
Mhm.
12 because of the adjustments they had made against us in the at halftime. Because in the first half, Misam had scored, I think, four layups.
Mhm.
They made the adjustment and focused defense on him. Assad, they weren't giving him any room at all. To Raza's point earlier, he was trying to make 3 point shots that were normally not the type of shots he takes, but that was because of the defense that was set against them. The pick and roll against us, I'm sorry, the pick and roll that we had with Abbas and Jaffer, they took that away immediately because every time we tried to do that, lob it into Jaffer, Daniel and Ahmed would collapse. So those are adjustments, and that's a smart basketball player making those in-game adjustments. And I think that's going to be very crucial for them to be able to come out as winners, because seeing how the game is being played, what Shahrukh and his team are doing, and making adjustments to kind of control that.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting to see how each of these teams adjust as the game goes on, and certainly it's going to be, it's interesting because last year's finals, between the Blazers and the Raptors, we thought that was going to be a close game, and it ended up being a very one-sided matchup. Raza, I'll ask you, do you think that there's any chance that this goes in a similar direction?
I think that last season against the Blazers, I think that there was a reliance on each other within the team, and that pushed them so far. It got them to the finals. But until your guy steps up and says, "This guy is coming at me, I have to come back at him," whether that's penetrating the paint and then getting your guy open, or getting the basket yourself. But you cannot rely on your team in this situation. If that happens, Shahrukh's going to capitalize, and the game might get out of hand.
Hmm. That was a similar question, and I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Um, when we played the final last year, we, as a team, as a unit, we planned for that final. We got together, we planned, we strategized. We knew what kind of defense we wanted to play against the Blazers, what their strengths were, and we forced them towards their weaknesses. And that goes to, I guess, I'm sure both teams are planning as to what to do in the game on Sunday. Um, I I think both teams are very solid. You have a very experienced basketball team on both sides, or for the most part, at least on Shuj'aat-e-Ali Asgher. I don't think it'll get out of hand. And if it starts going that way, I think both teams will try to slow down the momentum and slow down the game,
Mm-hmm.
and then just try to come back in.
And back in. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I think it's going to be a slobber knocker of a game. At least I'm hoping so. I think anybody who's in attendance is going to have a great time watching this back and forth matchup, and anybody that's watching on the live stream is going to have an even better time because And I'm going to give you guys a spoiler that alongside Reg on commentary is going to be the one and only Ali Bobby Rizvi. So I
Oh,
think you got to look out for that combination there. And it should certainly be an entertaining game to watch and to commentate. So, Raza, any last thoughts on your
Um,
end?
I think you got two of the smartest, most knowledgeable basketball players in the league going at it. Both have Ahmed has a very well-rounded team, and Shahrukh has a lot of experience under the belt. I think both teams have to fight from the beginning till the end. It could be anyone's game. I picked Shahruk's team, but I'm open to either team winning, and I'd be happy in either case.
All right, Raza, any last thoughts on your end?
Yeah, same thing. I think it's going to be a very hard fought game. It could go either way, but I just for just because he's the best player in the league and he's scoring 60, 70 points a game, I just slight edge to him. But I think Ahmed and his team are very well rounded. We just played them, so I can speak from firsthand experience. Very solid team. They have nice inside outside game. I think it's going to be a very hard fought game, and I hope it goes to the last minute. A tight game. It would be fun to watch that, and both teams deserve to be there. And best of luck to both of them.
Yes, yes, indeed. It's going to be a great game. Best of luck to both teams. Shuj'aat-e-Ali, Asgher, and Enlightened. I hope you guys are watching. We are going to be scrutinizing both of your game very closely and both of your teams very closely. So, inshallah, I hope everybody gets excited for this Sunday. Raza, Raza, thank you both for coming on the podcast and sharing your thoughts, especially after enduring some soul-crushing defeats this past week. But hey, it's part of the game, and inshallah, next season we'll all have better luck, inshallah. But thank you guys again, and thank you for all those at home watching. Inshallah, tune in next week when we have our final podcast for this season. Once we do have a champion winner here for this season's NJSSL basketball. Until then, everybody, this is Reg, your host, signing off. Wa alaikum assalam.